Morning, welcome everybody to the Wilson County. We were so close.
Okay.
Good morning, and welcome everybody to the Wilson County Commissioners meeting. It's October 2nd, 2023. It's 10:06 a.m. Roll call, please.
Can I present Jim Marlin? Jim Rice.
Present.
All right, well, today's meeting is mainly budget and strategic planning. We've got our materials. You guys ready for revenues? We can start with that. Excuse me, Frank?
You in the meeting, you get ready.
We want to stay. Oh, it's open if you need to come in.
I need someone to class. Thank you.
Guys ready? Given in the past, when we start off with the estimated revenues, was that?
Yeah, those that you have there, those are actual receipt
Okay,
by the month.
okay.
And so I went back and went back to the year prior to the pandemic. And then the 2020, and then 1, 2, and 3, just so you could kind of see the trends and the recovery. And so those are amounts from the Department of Revenue and Comptroller side for the disbursements too. Then down there underneath the totals, I typed in a cell as where they're the 2023 budget for that number. Go down one more,
One more.
go down another section, yeah. Those two first ones are combined for sales tax.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
And then to be able to show you if you're gonna be over or short. But you can also see that same information on the revenue analysis work paper. I just put it in 2 places. One has a month by month and then the other one is just an annual total. So you can see things that are coming in okay to your budget, things that are gonna be short to your budget, and sort of an overall picture at the end.
And do you have a way to estimate the STAR bonds going through? We get an increase on that. Do you have a number on that?
I do not. Is there enough data out there to start forming that here?
All we have is their proposal.
Yeah.
Somehow.
Well, a lot of times with those proposals, what I found is those were at max capacity. Yeah, for startup, you know? Yeah. I'll tell you the one thing I did, and this may help when we get to it. This was the only analytical that I could put on the casino revenue share. You know, the first installment job was for 9 days. So I took that, divided by 9, times the 30, 31, something like that. When you get to that section, I tried to estimate the October and November coming in. That if it's going gangbusters, that number may be.
And that's that 388.
Yes.
And my concern is the wrong word, but
Uh-huh.
as I look at that, you only have 9 days.
Yeah.
You know, it's a grand opening,
Mhm.
you know, it's a grand opening over a holiday weekend.
Yeah.
There's also a chance that number's a little inflated. But we should have a full month before we're done here in 30 days.
Yeah, I think probably within the next 1 or 2 days, that spreadsheet might be
I
available.
think it was about the 8th last
Was it?
month, but
Yeah.
within a week.
Yeah.
We should see and have a better idea.
Yeah, I've not heard it, how busy they're going to be.
No, I hear from other folks that are out there, and some say there's nobody there, and some say it's packed, and so, you know,
Time of day.
you're gonna have to see numbers.
Yeah.
And you know, that's one person's opinion of what's packed and what's nobody there.
Yeah.
Nothing to go on.
Yeah, so for the Star Bond development and all of that, there's really nothing embedded in those figures there.
Right.
You know, those are just what's actually received.
It should at least be a minimal increase on our sales tax.
I think so.
I think your projection for this year and mine are very similar, very similar.
I gave you some ranges there, 70, 80, 90, 100, you know, so you can kind of gauge what that number would look like.
I think the big thing is, while we missed our projection, still up from last year.
Yeah.
I think that trend continues, right?
I agree.
You're talking about the 24 million.
The sales, just the sales tax.
Sales tax.
Yeah.
It's still growing, the pace of it slowed maybe just a little bit. But it's still growing.
2%.
On sales tax?
No, I mean, that's, when I talked to Steve Hale, I mean, the city of Marion Drive is pretty much Williamson County, and he said theirs was at 1.7 from last year, so.
So I didn't know what you guys were thinking on the state-based revenues, because you got a state-based and you got a fee portion. And the state-based, in past years, for the safety zone, usually use like a 90% marker of the most recent compilation of numbers. That way it gives you some latitude up or down. So on the fee-based revenue though, what I wanted to bring up is if you saw in your worksheets, I had targeted a 70% on those, and I'm thinking of the implications or the effect of the no cash bail kind of coming through. Did you guys have a thought on how that would impact court fines and fees?
I think that'd be a safe margin right there. Cause it's against any,
Yeah,
we'll see how it goes. But I think except it would be a safe percent to utilize it.
that turns out to be a wildly wrong number, you can always amend
So that's just my opinion.
going forward, but I think we'll see a cash impact.
We're going to see cash in. It's going to get greater as the year goes on. And those fees are still moving away through the system. So we still have people that have bonds.
Right. They will cycle out.
They will cycle out.
Yeah.
And that's when we really see the
Yeah.
drop.
Income tax is missing the mark quite a bit. But I think that has more to do with last year. There was really an anomaly payment of over 700,000,
Yeah.
which is really skewed your
Oh.
ratio.
However, we go back to 21. Yeah, that was about $800,000 increase, right? From 21 to 22.
Something got flushed through the system. I don't know what it was.
What was the deferment?
Oh, was it the?
Yeah, they, during COVID, they deferred several of those tax payments. So then whenever they came back on, kind of same way as like the student loans, they were deferred for 3 years, now you gotta start paying. It's the same thing that happened with that. It was deferred, and then all of a sudden, it's due, you get this massive invoice, but that's a one time, can't set time. It's not, you know,
These, just so I understand, Ken, on this sheet right here, on that income tax, for 2022, you've got 3.5. And then for 2023, we're projected out 3.4, is that the projection is? So there's not meters.
But, okay, go down to the second group, because sales tax includes the regular and then the supplemental. So you gotta look at the total of the two down there in the next.
Okay, I was looking at
You're talking about income.
income.
Oh, income tax, I'm sorry.
Right, income tax.
Yes, yes.
So wasn't that what we were just talking about? So in 22, it was 3.5.
Right.
And then the projection, and for 23, it's 3.5. Did that payment also occur in 23?
So the eight, like the 700,000? No.
So 23 is kind of pretty much a 5 number, right?
Yeah, it's without that inflationary effect, is that massive? Yeah. But that 3.4,
Yeah, 3 or 4.
is that in the 90% column as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think what she's saying, the significant decreases, you have appropriated 3.9 for this year. So that's where, I mean, she's talking
That's
about
where
the massive shortfall was one of these because of the budget, not the department.
So do you want to take it like major category by major category, or do you have a feeling on treating the state revenue sources differently?
Personally, think we ought to stay at the 90% mark with the state.
We'll have to bring personal property replacement tax down.
We can start that, Ken, and then see what
Okay.
we can do.
Okay.
Go back and find something.
Okay. However you want to do it.
I think that'd be a good thing.
Are you good with that, Jim? Or would you rather do something?
You know, I still see, I get, we overshot when we adjusted. I get that. No argument, but we're still looking at everything going up. I think 90 is shackling us a little bit. 95 is still saying it may go down, but right, I did all the trend up except PPRT. Get the money, we're gonna need to do what we want to do. 95, I think is still something.
It's just, guys, this is preliminary.
Oh, absolutely.
We can throw 95, we can throw 90.
I say let's stay with 90 right now, and then like Tim said, if we need to go back. We could fine tune it, adjust
Yeah, because
This is started.
at the end, we're gonna fulfill these budget. So we'll do the best we can.
What about the court fines and fees?
Seventy, I mean, this is a negative, 70 arbitrary, or did you have something that needed to be done?
I think it is sort of an arbitrary kind of feeling of the impact of that. And as Tim mentioned, there were still going to be cases that were falling that, still did have the cash bond attached to them. So there is a little bit of bottleneck backflow that is still going to come out to you. It was an impactful percentage, but still allow for that old money to still flow through.
I don't disagree with her, I was hoping you had a science to it.
No, unfortunately, these things, just usually you have to have some data. You're just sort of taking a shot in the dark on the impact of the future event.
I think by January, we'll have a better idea of what we're doing.
Could be because then the fees will start cycling out and you'll start to see the drops in those. And hopefully they're pretty consistent. It will be effective immediately. But I still think it will kind of step down a little bit as the cases process.
This is the approximate amount of loans these are impacted by this. But what we receiving revenue from this?
In the general fund,
Well, just the court fees, all those things.
yeah, in the general fund, it's over $1 million.
So anything else? I mean, he's going to circuit code with him. He'll have automation. Those automation accounts, so we look at 70% on those revenues also.
I think that they're gonna see a similar,
Does that affect any other offices?
Court assessment.
Court assessment.
I mean, any court fee, it's associated, so court assessment, court op ed, I mean, all of those fees.
public
Public defender
defender.
automation, state attorney automation. There's a majority of those fines and fees are taken out of the bond, because you got money sitting there. Now you're gonna have to assess those and then hope you're gonna collect it. So now you're gonna work with the fact that you may or may not get that, you may or may not get that for several months down the road, whereas right now, it's like they've got a $500 bond, $300 worth of fees, boom, pull from the bond, put in those accounts, give the extra money back to the person, move on down the road. Now you don't have that deposit sitting there, I'll be able to draw from it, so yeah, so then you're gonna have to also maybe factor in, any kind of, if you
We're gonna have costs
collect
like that.
then you're gonna have to, if you have a collection agency, remember, taking the third, then you're gonna lose out on some of those things as well.
So that impact doesn't come over into offices on this side, does it? Any of the offices on the DC?
In the admin
And
building,
then,
no, they're not involved.
it's just all. So that's what I thought. I honestly, I have no feeling the 70% right now. Maybe you have.
I don't,
Intuition.
that's one where I would absolutely look for guidance. I just think we pick a number and go. It sounds like we've talked it out here, we might see the biggest impact early. As we start collections, push it out 30, 60, 90 days, whatever it takes, and we may start to recoup some. Halfway through the year, 3/4 through the year, we may see it sneak back up a little bit. I don't think this is one that will get worse. I think we may take the smack right off the bat.
There are, you're right, I think we're gonna see it because it's going to be immediately went through the system. Talked to the circuit clerk, and they're ready to start lighting the streets, the budget units, the insurance. I just, talking my way into this, I just don't have a good feeling. You know, and the total impact is about $1 million. That's about what's collected, everything was in there.
Well, but that's representative of fees as well, that's just not bond. So there are a lot of civil cases, divorce, small claims, probate, those types of cases where filing fees still have to be paid. You know, bail does not affect those types of cases, and so all of that flows into.
That will continue to flow.
Yeah.
So, so I've got that total impact is about $1 million. Potentially,
Oh, for the bail?
for the no, what is that number?
No,
No.
350,000, based on it.
So is that 70%, 70% of the 3 to 500,000?
Yeah, well,
No, it's
70% of each of the court monies coming through your way. Yeah, that impacts about 350,000 based on what we're working with right now.
Tim, I don't remember, did you, when I was talking to the auditor in Madison County, they were using 35% as a reduction.
Well-
Some of the other treasurers I talked to that are starting their budget are working 30, so 30 to 35 is I think, a good
That's what he was saying.
arena to be in. So,
That's what I'm trying to drill down to.
I mean, nobody
On
knows.
what the amount, the amount of revenues that we receive, that are impacted by no bill, or no bill. No fees, no bill, whatever that number is. It's
So being primarily criminal and traffic.
Right, yeah.
So you talk about 70 cases.
Well, if it's $500,000, we're talking 70 or 35 of that is one thing. If we're talking about $1 billion, $1.5 billion, that's something else. So if it's just 3 to 500,000, that's not a, I mean, that's a big number, of course. But it's not going to have the same impact to take 70% of the economy. That makes sense. Right? So where are you guys at? We're at 70, we're good at 35, we're good at 50.
I was good at 70, but honestly, I could probably finish about 65. So we'll just get to 70. We want to get it rolling.
Jim, what we
If you're talking about a difference of less than $30,000, something like 65. To be safe, see, I think my
Okay.
early.
I just wanted us to be aware of the total amount. I mean, it's significant, but it's not budgeted. It's not budgeted. What was that?
You mean on the fees, they're kind of sprinkled all
Spread
around.
around.
Yeah,
Okay. Didn't we,
So pretty much anyone that said 70, they agree. Check it at 65.
change that to 65.
did we have just a box of fees? Like this? This is a percentage. Here. This is one that just had, just for those fees. Right, okay.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah, there are several.
Traffic was 60 foot, right? The circuit court clerk fees are not, are they? These are 60.
65. Sure.
I don't hear right now.
Well, I'm having a little bit of an issue. Do you think I can log on to, a Sonic Wall to, it's not letting me,
I was trying, I was trying.
because I'm on the internet. It's not.
You can't get into it.
Yeah, it's not letting me. And it might be your IT settings that's. Now, there is one other metric on the cash bond, because Jim, you were asking about a metric, and there was one other thing that I looked at. I looked at the total amount of cash bail processed a year by the clerk's office. And sometimes it can be a little deceiving, but what I did was on their annual reports for the money that they processed through, it looked like they were collecting in about 2 million cash for the bond. Now, sometimes that gets a little lost in reclasses, depending on reclass date, things like that, but I'm just trying to look at in and out. And of that amount, not all of that goes to the county. Okay, there are going to be state agencies involved, other arresting agencies, that. And so of the 2 million, I estimate about 600,000 of that is kept here. But then again, that does not go to general fund. That gets chunked up into the law library, court assessment, public defender, automation, those types of things. So really the impact of about half of that, maybe 55% of that lands in the general fund. So that was a little bit more of a kind of mathematically targeted that range. Okay. Well, there's one other large revenue source that we can talk about. I also sent you over a levy worksheet. Because that's going to go into your general fund, that larger number. So that was another thing that we could talk about as far as the percentages to levy, publish, and then do you want to distribute that growth percentage to the other entities, highway, and that way your levy can come to you.
So last year we shared it in highway.
You did. And you have to do that to keep his rates,
To keep our rates.
where he gets reimbursements.
If that was it, we shared it. I think that's why we did.
Same here.
Yeah.
Hang on a second. We made a commitment in this room last Friday to ball fields. And part of their proposal to us is kind of get a little ROI on what we give them, is our increase in property tax out there, because that TIF turns into star bond and we should see more return. So I just feel like we need to be thinking, I'm not saying this is it, but this is where I start thinking about where are we going to make the commitments, where are we going to pull from.
What TIF are you referring to?
The TIF that the star bonds is taking over. And it's frozen at 19. And now we get the increment from there on property tax.
Well, but is the mall in the star bond now?
Yes.
Because the mall's in a TIF right now for the next 20+ years. So they're going to expire that TIF?
It doesn't expire. The star bonds freezes it at 2019. So whatever was going on at the 2019 EAV TIF still goes to that TIF. But any other improvements in the Sarmons district, we get that tax now, we get that increment in property tax. And their estimates are very large, and I don't like their estimates.
I mean, to confirm that with Alex.
Yes. And both attorneys and everybody else. And I was skeptical as well. And it's very confusing. But we will see some kind of increment out of that. And when we talk about paying whatever we're gonna pay on these ball fields, in my opinion, it needs to come from economic tax. And that's one of the two places we'll help both of them. So I'm just putting on the table to think about, how do we get some of this increase over there?
So that would, we don't have any place to put that.
Well, right now, that theory would be housed inside the general fund.
Yeah, there's,
And so you would increase that and then you would disperse it out.
Just the line in general.
so we'll have to create some kind of account for that. And put that money in there. These would be the other levy partners, right, that we have. So that increase is going to stay here in our general fund. We need to hold that money. So
You just need to be thinking about where it's gonna come from.
Yeah.
It's a significant.
I'm glad you brought that up. So correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but that increase is going to stay here. It's not going to go out to these. We can add that count into our general budget.
So if we were gonna add a line item to the general fund, what would you like to call it?
That's a good question.
Yeah, I don't, I've played that over in my head.
I've been thinking about how we're going to differentiate and keep that money aside.
Right.
In our general fund.
Just a bit of trust.
It's going to be in the trust, right?
Yeah, I'd have you transfer an annual amount like you do
For contingency.
well, contingency, you
No.
don't transfer.
Yeah.
But I'm saying like for the jail lease payments, you move it over for.
Insurance.
all the
Insurance.
different insurance, health insurance, everything.
And
Economic development too, like, yeah.
We already have one.
I think we've got.
Do we,
You have a fund.
We have a separate standalone fund that's economic development, but we don't have a line.
Could that be-
We have a trust.
Yeah, there's nothing prohibiting you from using that particular fund.
Because there's about 300 grand in that account. So that could be seed, because it has no investments. That could actually be seed money for that account. But we'd have to have a goal. Decide to use that, whatever it could be used for. Did you guys, what do you think about that, Jim? Think that'd be a good idea to put that into, and leave that as our quote economic development fund for the ball field expense?
Well, or maybe anything else that comes with it.
Right, I don't know if we want to actually limit that.
Right.
Because I'm sure that some of the other towns in the county.
I don't have my sheet. We have a minimum on that.
On the economic development money?
No.
No.
All we're doing is building it up from the prior, county loan, so we see plus some came in, I guess, from Johnson City, so. So that's why it's definitely, another thing though, you're gonna take 15% off the top of whatever you get, because it's the 15% of the property tax money is going to ROE.
Oh,
And that's how it started on the reason why you get 15% of all the
yeah,
increment of the increase in the
I'm not sure what
property
the
tax
percentage
money.
is, but you're right, you're
I believe it's
right.
15%.
Okay, so we'll have to work that out.
Yeah, right now, we don't really have a factor in there for Starbucks.
Right.
So what we've got on the property tax side is your CPI for this next year's, again, 5%. Which if you look at the history of CPI, this has never happened. 5 and 5, 0.9, 1.7, 1.3. So it's a pretty good jump. And then you'll have the TIF rollout. And then you'll have new property. Historically, the new property percentage has been 2.5%. So Tim, that is something that you were helping me with several weeks ago, but you guys were also still in the phase of having your board review. You hadn't finished that yet. Have you had any other new property estimates from the assessor?
I have not asked him, and never, and I didn't, just bring my thing. I can get that.
So we know we've got, and it's on your tax levy worksheet, the 5% CPI. I think the TIF one rollout will probably be 5%, between 4 and 5%.
I mean, 800 to 900,000 is what I, dollar figure was what
Here's some of
we
the
kind
kind
of talked about, but I mean, granted, it would. I mean, we're talking even the tax of this.
Well, I was kind of thinking that the 2.5% of new property, I was thinking that that's probably going to start looking a little low because, I mean, that was normal before all of these developments started. And I think there are several, whether you know, houses, commercial construction, all these other things that have, you know, already happened. That I was thinking the 2.5%. So when it comes to, because, you know, we have two amounts, we have a percentage that we think is realistic, and you can build your levy and put it in your budgets as a cash receipt. But then there's an amount as well that you publish, which is usually a higher percentage, just to capture your the case. And you're gonna be cut back to what the reality is. So when it comes to real world, what we can put in your budget and what you want to levy, do you know your percentages? Because you know that percentage is gonna be in the paper. You're gonna have a notice, it's gonna start off with Williams County government's increasing taxes by X%. And then the bond that says, well, of course, this is just in accordance with CPI and ETL and will be limited, but that's not what it starts off.
Well, because we were high last year too, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, last year you had a 5% CPI.
Yeah. Right, so what we can, see 13
12 and a half.
12 and a half?
Yeah, 12 and a half.
and I don't think that's reasonable for this year.
Well,
I say it needs to be higher.
yeah, it needs to be higher.
Oh.
Yeah. I was thinking 18 to 20%
Oh, you're thinking
publish,
10%.
to publish.
Yeah.
And then probably real life, I know you've got 5, and then we've got to figure out your new property. So you might need 14, 15 there.
Hmm.
But then between 14, 15, and 18, you know, that gives you a couple extra percentage points in case something rolls out
And just in case.
Yeah. through the review process.
That's a huge number.
But
It's just, it's just on paper. I mean,
That's true, I get
I
it,
mean,
Right,
but to put this out in the paper,
the impression is.
Yeah.
you're always kind of easy at
If you don't do
If we
that,
don't
you'll leave it on the table.
Absolutely.
We never do that.
That's what we don't.
Never like we get.
the school districts, part districts, all, they're always at 25 plus. I mean, the school district last year was like 30 to 40. So, yeah, so I mean, again, it's a number that you're publishing just to make sure you capture it. So you don't want to leave anything on the table.
No.
So even if you put 20 in there, you're knowing that, yes, it's a number, yes, it's a large number, but if all of a sudden somehow it was 19 and we put in an 18, you lost a percent, you're never going to ever get that back. Never, ever, ever.
Absolutely.
Yes, Park District for one has done that for, you know, did that for 5 or 8 years and never saw that, never said that. So you don't ever want to.
So we could set that number today. What do you think? 18?
18 to publish?
There's, it still could go over, you think we're gonna get 14?
I'll do 20.
Huh? You think it could be 20?
I would do 20. I mean, I'm telling you, if you take the 5 and 5 are guaranteed, and if we have to get 4%, and then if TIF one does roll out, you're talking 800 to 900,000.
Yeah.
I mean, technically, based off of what, that's another.
Well, but the second 5 is the TIF.
Right, the second
5 and
five.
5, and then the 4, that's what
So you
you're.
charge for new property.
Okay, so,
Yeah,
yeah,
the
I
other one
mean,
is very close to new property, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you guys will set it at 20, that's fine. It's fine with me.
I don't want to lose anything. I'm all for going 20.
Okay.
So,
Okay, so you publish 20. Now, when it comes to budgeting and putting these numbers in your budget, are you feeling good at the 14, 15?
You want me to get that new property increase from?
Yeah, it would be new property on the 23 payable 24. Okay, and so since you're 9 months in to the 23 payable 24 year, what I don't know is if the assessor's office has had a lot of time to input the new property.
That's a new property.
Percentage, yeah. Or if the dollar amount's easier, we can always do the percentage. Sometimes it seems like a dollar. And then we'll just take that divided by the tax.
That's for,
20, new property, 20. Through board review, do you guys add new properties very often?
I'm sorry, we're just,
Do you add new property very often through board review? Do you pick up pieces?
really, really big for review is to increase assessments. I don't, I mean, we might find an occasion for odds or something.
Okay.
Significance, I mean, I'm trying to remember if we've ever, since I've been here, if we've ever actually picked up the whole building of the house. Possible.
under board review, I mean, there was a COEs that I received from them, they picked up something, $7,000.
Yeah, it's still even begin to touch them.
Oh,
No. The minuses are 1,000.
Okay, so we'll hang on for just a little bit to
See if
see
he's,
if he's got any information for you. Otherwise, we'll just, if he's now just not getting started, we may just have to pull the number and go.
so we're at 20 on that.
On the publish,
Typically 20% publish rate.
the publish, yeah. You'll budget less. Back to the line item to add to the general fund for your project. That is the economic development fund. So would you like it to be called transfer to economic development fund?
that's fine.
I think that works for me. I don't know, it needs to be super complicated.
Okay. And that way, then you know where it's at and it'll
Sure.
be moved over every year. Okay. Is it too early to have an amount for that, or would you like to work on that?
Well, 640 is the number. So that, that'll be what it is. I know there's 300 in there right now, so this year we could put 350. As really is that money in. So whatever you guys want to put in there. 640.
Yeah. The other thing we're gonna have to add, and actually I was hoping you have the amounts, but the offices that get stipends from the state, the money is gonna be sent to the county from now on, and the county is gonna have to disperse those through payroll. And the state, I think, wants the ability to verify that those amounts were paid within the next number of days to the office holders. So I was thinking adding a line item to those offices that have that, so that if the state calls, you can just run those line items to prove when each of those were paid, instead of searching through like a whole payroll line item.
So we're going to receive the money from the state and then immediately send it out to you. So
Through
is that,
a payroll check.
is that a one time.
It's a one-time.
One time.
But it varies throughout the year. Some, like I get mine in April. I think some get theirs in February, others get theirs in.
That's probably the same.
Yeah. So-
Do you have a list of how much each one of those are?
Like issue.
Okay.
I mean, most of them are $6,500 except for maybe the numbers.
Okay,
That's what it is. That's what it's. It's about original.
and then at the top, you just need to put in one revenue line item, I think.
Yeah.
Too, because you'll get, it doesn't really have any impact on your bottom.
And it's past the-
Yeah, so if that's like 6,500 times 5 or however many there are, then do you want one revenue line item to report all that revenue?
Yeah, I would think so. I mean.
Yeah.
I would think keep it simple.
Yeah, I think of passing the payroll tax cost on to you.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
it's small.
So we've got that new line. Are there any other new lines that come to mind that we need to put in there?
I think of right now, we might find something like that.
In the last year,
Like the
that
revenue or expenses?
Either way.
Well, the uncompensated absences or something, payouts.
was already in there.
I don't think we've never used it.
Is that, you thinking about per office?
Well, I mean, something or to the effect of that, and the commissioner's line item that generates what all these people are intended to do. If you remember, like last year, we had, in the CBA for the circuit clerk, if they don't use their allotted vacation time, they can then request to be paid out at the end. The circuit clerk's budget submission is based off of someone working, just 52, weeks at whatever that amount is, and that would be included taking their allotted benefit time. Many of those over there are getting anywhere from 1 day to the full, 2 or 3 or 4 weeks that they have accrued to be paid out at the end. So that would either need to be put in their line item, but you also have people that are leaving that are due their allotted benefit time out of respective offices, and that respective office has to pay out of what they have. Ask to be paid.
Well, if it's approved to pay in a year, it should be in the employee line items, but it's the carryover.
Well, but okay, taking into consideration, taking what I'm going to be having, Jerry works for 4 months, he leaves and he has all this accrued time, I'm hiring someone to come in basically the same day that he leaves. So I paid him to that point, but then I have 3 or 4 weeks to pay him as accrued benefit time, but I'm still paying that new individual then on that same period. So now you're doubling up those. So that's why, those people leaving, unless you let them exhaust all their time before allowing someone to hire in, you're going to have that overlap in some form, and that's not going to be anticipated by the office holder in their line.
I
So,
don't know that I've seen the numbers come to the absence of.
well, I mean, Kim gets supplied at the end of each year, I mean, what their balance levels are and everything else and what they're eligible for. So, many of those people that are here for 10 years, I mean, can then, if they retire, can have all of that, their sick time moved into IMRF. But the other ones.
So that's not a cost for us.
Well, that's not a cost for us, but if someone so chooses to say, I'm giving you my 2 weeks notice, I'm taking 5 sick days,
Right,
and then I've got
100 days left.
100 days left of personal time and vacation time and everything else, you still have to pay them. So either the office holder has to find a creative way to absorb it, or we need to try to put some kind of number, 20, 50,000, something like that, to be able to.
They could go into contingency, only, and used only. So,
I mean, you can do that. I mean, you can list that in contingency as one of those line items. I just didn't know if it would be easier to have a recognized
We can figure out what that
balance
number
number.
is. If we can figure out what that number would be or something.
Yeah, well, I mean, using Kim's, the information that's provided, you know,
You're probably pretty close.
Yeah, you had this mechanism set up several years ago, I would say 5 or 6 years ago, where you set up a fund, compensated absences fund, and you were putting 50,000 a year into it. The problem was, when it came time to pay people out, nobody used it.
Nobody used it, and,
And it was a concept that just was foreign to them, so they just paid everybody out of their line items. And I think how it's handled a lot is that person, you know, after they're paid out, then there's a replacement that comes along, so that you don't have the double pay going on.
that's what we gotta keep from happening.
Well, you've set this up in the past, nobody used it. You advertised it, you talked to people about it, you asked them to use it. So what would be done differently this time around to where it's usable for, I think that's my question. You can put it as a line in the general fund. Before, you had a transfer to a compensated absences fund, and that's where you pile the money. Yeah. Like I say, maybe only one person used it. And there just wasn't an understanding of what you were trying to
You never
do.
paid a minimum employee.
Yeah. I think if you wanted to start with, a $50,000 line item,
I mean, Julie and Marla stay on top. They know who is due what. Now, the issue, like Kim said, becomes, we just process payroll as we get. We can tell them, hey, you got X amount of dollars to pay them, and all of this extra money should be coming out of compensated balance, or, you know, for absences, or this trust fund. We can add the line in, yes, and then and then see if they would just sign off on it. But, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, it's still their department, and I can't force them to use this, that, and the other. But, I mean, technically it's to benefit them, because otherwise they're using their own funds. And then if they overpay and they're at a negative status, then they would need to come to you to say, hey, I need more money for it. Now, I know it's a payroll item and people have to be paid, blah, blah, blah. And at the same time, the goal is to make people understand and recognize that this is,
I don't know that outside of contingency.
No, I like the idea of it being its own line. And I think if we end up in the situation you just brought up, that they've used their money and they've run out, and they have to come ask, they're like, well, we're gonna get it from this line, we'll get you to use this line in the future, but maybe this is an education process, and it's not going to go immediately that everyone understands it.
Right.
Once they have to come to that solution,
Right.
they know in the future that's where to go to not get into their own money, so
Right.
I think going that route makes sense.
And we don't have.
you don't have that line, no, that also, that fund, got absorbed. Compensated absences fund, yeah, you guys transferred the money, back into the general fund, and, it was going nowhere, you were building it up for no reason.
Other than what we discussed here, just assume that the office holders at the end of our motion session, this is a notice for every department head. This fund is here for you. For you, so you don't have to tap into it. Right, yeah, more or less kind of like a compilation of any notes that we would send up. It's after.
Is 50,000, is that a fair number, or is that excessive?
we paid 21,000 last year for the circuit clerk's office for all their compensated, uncompensated balances, or uncompensated time.
So that's happened.
That's half of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think maybe even the prior year was maybe 16 to 20,000, I think, on average for that office. I don't see that changing. I mean, anytime soon. So half of that, yeah. So then your other half would be, I mean, just people that are leaving other various offices. Because I don't think there's any other contracts that read that way. I mean, you'd have to check it right on that. I think that's the only one. references you can pay out at the end of the year if you don't use. That's all.
So they would think it.
I think hearing that is a fair number to start, to see the fund, then we'll just make an adjustment next year.
Yeah, yeah, why don't we, yeah, if I'm hearing you right, you want to give it a try, I'm kind of.
I mean, technically, there's several $100,000 on it. I mean, if you add up everybody, so,
Yeah.
but they all have to leave it once.
They don't have to
Everything
get
else,
one
right,
time.
but I mean, yeah, but there's, it's like, do the 6-figure.
Yeah. So why don't we go back to 50 and adjust this for going on? I don't know if that went to contingency.
Thought about having some sort of accelerated youth program. That's what we have to plan for.
Yeah, but we know what that got us last time.
I think we want.
There are some ideas that are questionable, and there are some ideas that are just not really.
Back to revenues.
Back to revenues.
So I want to go back to the property tax line. So the amount going in the general fund for 24 does include the percentage of growth that you guys talked about and would be revenue sharing just with the highway department. If you're not gonna find it on that sheet.
What am I looking at?
Do you have your tax levy?
Yeah. I can't read this one.
Jim's got a bigger copy of it.
Okay,
So there's a pretty big jump in the general fund property tax. But that's why. It includes the CPI, the TIF, and all of that. And so then the line you added before then basically would come from that big number going in. Okay? So that's where that number's at right now as a projected revenue source. The other revenue source that I want to talk about, and this is, again, you just have to get started somewhere, to get started on a number. Are there any thoughts on an annual amount for the revenue sharing compensation?
And sharing would be.
That's just your share.
that's our share.
They're sharing with you.
So that's 5%, right?
So running that out right now, the math I had, and maybe you had something, it was about 2 I think, why don't we wait and see what September? Actually, it's from September. I don't know if that even helps us.
Well, that 2.1 is actually what I used.
Yeah.
And that was again, just mathematical based
Just-
on the number of days we did see it was open.
9 days, and divided by that, multiplied by 365.
Exactly. So that's probably why we got the same number.
Yeah,
Oh, that was my method for that. I know they projected you 3.2.
plus the sports book, if you remember, in our conversations, they talked about the sports book, which were never in any of those feasibility studies that I could.
Right.
And that was another win.
Okay.
We're yet to see it.
Yeah.
And I don't think the sports book may not be open.
So just say 2. We're gonna wait till September comes in.
We can,
Yeah. Jim, do you have any kind of good thoughts about it?
My number on the big side was 1.9, on the small side, it was closer to 1.5. We want to plug 2 in right now and adjust. I think within the next 7 to 10 days, we'll have a full month's worth. And I'd be more comfortable committing.
Sure. Well, this is all just a super
Just
start.
put 2 in right now.
You should look at the other, it's most of them, almost all of the same, which one was it? Was it 1 or 2? 1 or 2? Close to 2.
I think 2 is a fair number for right now. Let's see what a full month.
I remember. And you haven't had any busy months, are there such a thing as a busy month? So,
I've not been tracking it long enough for me to say.
yeah.
Then I see more of like a hotel. They had about 77, they gave us their bed tax.
Yeah.
And they had about 7,700 hours. I'm sure the hotel was about 5 or 6 days and that, so part of the wing, so.
As I start to book conferences, I would think to see increases. It was probably more. Spring, summer, fall, that was winter.
I'll say this, I think they need us to get through two. That's what they need us to do. It was pretty apparent in the conversations. All right, Kim, we'll put that in it too.
Okay. See if any other. The one thing that surprised me a little bit, I don't know why, but the cannabis tax had gone down. It was surprising, you guys were,
That was cooking pretty good. That was,
so that
they
was.
did have a big event this week and they were lined up around the building.
Were you in line?
Yeah.
Drive by there
I think
every day coming in.
That might reflect part of the issue is supply.
Oh,
The
good.
issue is supply.
Their parking lot is not as busy as it was a year ago. I mean, it's obvious when I
The
ride by.
demand of it is still there, it's just a supply.
A lot of areas together.
Yeah. So I think you'll see that change.
So we talked about all the fees. State sources.
You just want to understand people's going, prices have really increased.
Supply and demand, I guess, it's a bad supply.
At least that's specific.
I think the only other positive note is that, the interest income sources were higher. What we were expecting too. So on that revenue sheet, it has the three columns. At the bottom, when you add up all the pluses and minuses, some of the minuses at the top are pretty scary. That was a $500,000 hole to fill. But then kind of as you go down, I always kind of go down to the total to see is the total going to be up or down. So there are some pluses in there do outweigh the minuses.
So you're talking about the interest income on the CD,
Yeah, that was higher.
the one actually, where's that when you go to? Is that where back in general fund?
Okay, I just had a positive one thing.
Okay. Is there any reason to not use the 2023 interest income as a baseline for 24?
No, I mean, from what I was saying, I should possibly have another group, so
That's what I was
so
afraid.
I would anticipate that it would go up
Okay,
in some form of fashion. I'm gonna try to stay on top, but I know that we have, that's the insurers here in the next month or so we could get over 5% on that. I continue to try to ratchet up the general fund monies or the check account, well, that's not as flexible because it's a public funds and means they have to get there. But I've stayed on them until I'm getting 530 something with that hardware fund. So it's a balancing act. Money return to the county, return to people. So no, I think we can continue.
That's on that $6 million city.
Well, that and plus the money that the general fund is generating.
That's right.
I mean, that's, they try to be a little more aggressive in upping that as those Fed funds rates are going up, because they know that there are other instruments and avenues out there that are to get that same down. So, I mean, it should easily still, I think, remain over 3.5, 311, 322, something like that. Just on the general fund money, the fully liquid operating account. I would see that going up a little bit. So, yeah, we at least do.
I think the other just notable item, you're going to receive about a little over 300,000 more in real estate taxes in the general fund than you projected, and 200 of that represents the prior year adjustment line on the bill. And that's a new, starting last year, that was a new element, so it's kind of hard to predict. Last year, I think the number was like
It was only 50.
57,000. So now in the 22 bill 23, that's $200,000. That's a $200,000 that we didn't know was going to be there until the bills came. The calculations. So that's where 200. The other little bit more in there is, again, we are conservative on what we put in your budget, and then you see the effects of actually levying your maximum. So. Were there any other lines on that worksheet that you wanted to look a little bit more into? Are they meeting your expectations?
We see any impact from the change on animal control contracts?
Are you changing the fees? Then I would think.
Yeah.
See, do you know about what you're changing?
Increasing from 210 to
Was it 235? Was it
245.
Was it 240?
They were thinking closer to 250.
What is it now? 2-1?
210.
So that's about a 21% increase, right? So does it make sense to extrapolate that out against that number? Is there any part of that that won't have that increase in it?
No, I think everything is.
Pretty close.
We set that for January 1st.
We just set it for as a contract.
As a new contract. So Ken, the difference may be is if somebody's also seeking some contract. I don't know when those contracts are going to.
And that's not the only source of revenue, so we don't want to increase the line. Like that.
10% or so?
I think so.
Okay.
Not huge.
It's a very small line. Video gaming fees is down this year. Right?
Yeah, it looked like there were maybe one or two that didn't renew, or the list was shorter.
It's wonderful seeing impact from seeing something that will continue.
Let's see.
Don't know how much, plus I think that's just one down those stories.
Fair enough.
To address the sheriff housing, because I don't see, that's 200%.
Yeah. Debbie, do you remember, do we have lesser games in the county? Is that of the gaming? Lesser machines, so they-
We only got 17,000 out of 19,000 that we budgeted based off of the
previous year.
fee
Well,
per.
there was red zone didn't
Okay,
Red zone didn't, and then,
renew. Then there was Sawmill Gaming, they did renew.
okay.
so there's a chance there could be even less.
Was
If they have less machines. I heard it had changed.
It was a new one last year.
Oh, the housing amendments, actually go back to housing amendments. That's gonna be elected.
Is that federal housing? So it's.
Is that federal or is that,
Federal.
that's not, okay.
I don't think the no cash.
That's not gonna affect that, yeah.
Todd was over the other day, we're starting to see more federals coming in. And drop. He had told me just the other day, saying, drop, but it was coming back up.
It had been.
Taking it a while. But
So you think it's a pretty static number, 750?
certainly check with the sheriff when he comes in. But I don't think we need to be panicking on it.
So I guess, Ashley, you were saying something about $250,000 short on that one?
Well, like right now, it's 276, but,
Okay,
it
wait,
appears we didn't get money, I mean, we're listening to monthly audits. I don't have a positive.
Would that have anything to do with that possibly federal shutdown?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. That money just shows up. Yeah. I don't,
So it's not unusual to do monthly.
it can be, I mean, it just varies and we're trying to build a balance.
yeah, I kind of thought they were going to be on trend with the total number,
Yeah,
with just a few delays.
I was just, I mean, it's like, based on what we had is 52,000 miles, times 3, is usually 158. If you say there's 4, because it doesn't, we're missing a month, that's 200,000. So it's 1,000. That's the latest thing.
Anything on further news that we need to approach a little differently, get you more information?
Jim, you would do 95 across the board, except for the,
PPRT. I think it's fair.
Well, I had,
oh, we said 90.
But yeah, you guys, I'm gonna go 90 for now.
oh, okay. So 90, I had
I'm
not
still
made,
comfortable at 95.
I had not made the change and I thought, I missed that, yeah, okay, so. Standing.
well, so I saw what you were talking about on August, those were deposited September 1st. So I figured there was maybe a little, like, I don't know if that fell on the weekend, the 31st of August, but there was a 9/1 and a 9/29. And so your number was probably before the 9/29.
Well, my number was 91.
Oh, okay. So that's what's wrong.
831.
Okay, so you got 2 months in September.
I mean, I was just averaging 52,000.
Mhm.
Maybe those are much higher.
Let's see.
What was received? Also, Marla said that treasurer, county clerk, sheriff, circuit clerk, one to receive 6,500. 32,500.
Okay, sheriff,
county clerk,
Clerk?
circuit clerk, coroner, and treasurer.
Yes, the September 1st was a little over 82,000,
Okay.
and the September 29th was about 76,500. So that would have skewed your averages a little.
All right, we asked about the property development. What he sent back to me, EAV should be plus 3 to 4% taxable, should be 2%-ish. That make sense? EAV should be plus 3 to 4%, taxable should be plus 2%-ish.
Okay, so that would put your 5, 5, and 2 as actual.
Mhm.
So do you want to work with 12 then, instead of 14 or 15 on the budget side?
Looking at this, it should
Okay.
probably be 12.
Okay, all right, we'll do that.
That's a little bit lower.
But
but
it's just
that's what
important
he's
that it's
saying.
reality. Yeah.
That's what he's saying, that's what it is.
You go to that. You've got 2 years of data on the prior year tax adjustment that you can also look at using. Do you want to start averaging those? Or, you know, that kind of thing? So that would be the 2%, but then actually work with the dollar to make it a little more. So another piece, well, we could do a couple of things. I had on the email, do you want to look at your dates? Do you know when you want to publish? Do you know when you want to first do tentative? Do you want all that worked out so that we can kind of know what time frame we're working with, get everything wrapped up?
I think it's going to do it now. Maybe in the spring or something. Maybe have everything set.
So let's work back from the drop dead date.
Okay.
Dated has to be in
The truth and tax,
Yeah.
that has to be, no more than 14, but no less than 7 days. But this is due, the property tax levy is due at the county court the last Tuesday in December. So really 14 days before that,
But payday is December 8th.
Right.
So you have to have a budget
By the first
approved
Has to be.
by the first payday, so
Correct.
December 8th.
I don't think we are not going to extend.
No, that's fine, I just like, but that's, you gotta, we went through that, what, 2 years ago? 3 years ago, when we approved the budget 3 days prior to,
Yes.
I mean, so we had to cram everything in.
There was
My first year is.
special reasons for that though.
I think we approved the budget my first year here in December. It might have been on the first meeting, is that?
so you want to start with like November 30. How far in advance of that would you like to have everything to post your final? For it to be active, it's going to need to sit for the 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Right.
So
So
you're,
there'll be a Thanksgiving in there. There's a couple of holidays in here. If it really matters, but. Okay, so approving the final,
Mhm.
I mean, does that, final approval, does that matter if that's the last week in November? And does that matter? We can work back there, or do we need to have the final approved prior to the final week? I mean, is there a right, is there a wrong?
I don't think there's really a right or wrong there.
I mean, so just to throw something out there, if we work backwards, Monday, November 27th, set up a meeting to approve the final.
Okay, no. your tentative has to set, okay, so you want to do
I'm
that?
saying for the approval.
Right, so 2 weeks before the
And
tenth.
then 2 weeks prior to that.
So that would be the 13th.
Okay,
And I tell you what, guys, I would argue for a week earlier.
okay,
So the 6th. So
Okay.
tentative on the 6th.
Okay.
Jim, how does that work for you?
okay,
And
And
that
so
way,
then-
that gives us a week to fudge.
okay. And so then if we back that up, then your tentative would need to be posted on the 23rd of October.
So for the next 3 work weeks, I'm open pretty much every day.
Okay.
How do you guys' schedules look? That way, if we happen to go past the 23rd, we still have time to go in. So I think we should try to shoot for the 23rd.
Okay, so you're talking about approval of final on this one. Correct?
Yeah, well, we could have like the tentative published on the 23rd, right?
2 weeks prior to that is 7th, that's election.
Publishing on the 6th, November 6th, Joe. Right?
I'm just trying to work backwards. So
Yeah. Is that, if we publish on November 6th, we can approve the final on the week of the 20th, or the 27th.
Okay, we just plan,
That just buys us that extra week.
let's just approve it on the 20th.
Yeah,
Okay,
is that a reasonable
So final,
schedule for?
final on the 20th.
which means you'd have to post the tentative on the 6th.
On the 6th,
Right?
post on the 6th.
6.
So we can approve the tentative.
Okay.
What day would we have to have the tentative approved? It'd have to be any day before the 6th, right?
Right.
No. Yes, okay,
Yeah.
sorry, you're right.
Right,
I'm
so,
thinking of approving it the same day you posted it.
yeah,
That's fine. I don't care
well, I guess
either
we
way.
could, I mean, we could post it that.
It doesn't matter.
I was just thinking you would post it on the 6th.
Post on the 6th,
Let
right?
it set, and then be approved. Now, when it comes to your truth and taxation,
Yeah.
you usually like to wrap that into one of these meetings. Do you want to do that on the 6th or the 20th?
Just do that. 6.
Yeah, because it just has to be done. I mean, couldn't we do that the day we post?
Yeah, that way it wraps it all in the same meeting, if you ever have to.
Big bow tie.
And that's just usually 5 to 10 minute process.
Yeah.
5 if you talk, 10 if I talk. Sure.
Okay. Posting on the 6th.
So, to get the public sheet. 6.
Your tentative,
Yes, tentative,
and your truth and tax.
truth and tax.
And so then,
Then the 20th would be final approval.
so then Stephanie, the notice will have to be in the paper. Do that on the 6th. Somewhere between the 23rd and the 27th. So I'll get you the publication information. And then the posting dates, and it'll have the border and the font and
Yeah.
all of that. Okay. We're gonna shoot like for the week of the 23rd of October for the publication. Anybody else got anything on dates? Are we good?
Other than, I guess we need to set dates for us, office holders to come. We do have a continuation of this meeting, I don't know if it's continuation. Yeah, recess reconvene on Wednesday. We'll have to get out agendas if we're going to meet the rest of the week. I don't know what your schedule is.
Yeah, I was getting some things written down here for you. on that.
Done it in the past, or we've met the office holders, but your guys on it, do we need to be the office holders? Or do we want to play it by ear? Once we start going through the budgets, we have a question, just give a call. Or do we necessarily need to set up a meeting? So
I think we can go through the submissions, if we have questions, go ahead.
that's kind of the way I'm looking. Yeah, it's just, not necessarily set up a meeting, office holders. We have a question, we'll just give them a buzz.
Yeah, we can certainly do that.
We can probably,
Process.
we're gonna make such good progress today that you can probably, if you want to start that on Wednesday, you guys can just start going through this. And that way you get an early look if you need to.
I think, there's probably, and then somebody may want to come and talk to us too. So. Yeah,
Well, it's an open meeting, so.
so they can show up.
Okay.
Do we want to try to schedule for Thursday or Friday? Okay, so Ken, that's, let's see.
Okay, Thursday. I've got,
Number 5.
I've got a Zoom call until about 10:30 that morning.
You afternoon, Thursday?
Thursday.
Okay.
I'm good up to 3:50.
Up till 3, so can we do from,
Yeah, or if you guys want to, start at 11 and we just kind of roll
Work
through
our way
lunch
through.
and then.
Sure.
9 to 3? Okay, so Thursday, 5. Wednesday, 11 to 3.
The 6th, I have a brief 30-minute call that morning until 9:30. May not even go that long.
So 9:30, so that would be, we'll try to do it the same way on
Yeah,
Friday?
that's fine.
What time?
Scheduled for 10 o'clock.
Okay, so Friday, budget from, on Fridays, 11 to 3? On
I
Friday,
can do like 10.
10 to 3?
Yeah.
Just, why don't we just put it in 10 a.m.
That's, probably got with everything.
Yeah.
It's a holiday.
That's 10 to 3 on Friday.
10 to 3 on Friday, or however, or just put it at 10 and we do stuff. Because I, yeah, we have a board meeting on the 10th, and Monday's holiday.
Thursday, I have DPSP.
On the 12th, yeah.
Friday, I am available, it's my only,
Okay.
it's really the 13th.
I think we'll get a long way. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday.
Do you want to, since you guys will be here, do you want to preliminarily set aside the
Yeah, we can.
Because I know you probably have some other things that are going to come up that you're going to need time away, but if we can get all this done very efficiently, then that'll allow you to do your things too.
You want to go
Whatever works for you.
one after the meeting? Okay.
So we've made it really far down the list, kind of hopping around a little bit. So the other thing I have as worksheet for you guys was to look at your department's budget, to give me some input on what you want to see there. And then I also had down here that we can start reviewing office holder budgets, so we can maybe review that this afternoon. So you want to spend a few minutes on your budget?
Sure.
Or we can chat right after lunch, you tell me what you want to do.
Let's, start.
Guys, we do have a couple of other things on the agenda too, so you can't forget to take care of those.
Do you want to do that now, and then we start your budget after lunch?
Well, I'm wondering if that's kind of what you like to do.
That's fine.
Yeah, because then I can take this, I can go back and I can email,
Congratulations on the
yeah, the Excel, because he wants them in Excel.
Yeah.
And I can do that.
Okay, does that work for you guys?
Sure.
Okay, see you in about 1 o'clock?
Yep.
Perfect. All right, gentlemen, back to our other commissioner duties. The new business, we have, does anybody have anything for old business? Would you like to talk about?
No, I'm just going to review once again with Gary Pearson about,
No.
let's see, everything that we wanted, you want to make sure they're okay.
See you.
Thank you. And then, about you guys, sure. Where to place that. I saw that, Marion has an electronics site.
They do,
So,
after hours.
Okay.
Hey, it was nice that you got it before us.
that's just,
Yeah. Okay, anything else from old business? I did have from old business, to tell auditors job description is now either being posted or has been posted on the website and on Indeed. Back to new business. Clearway broadband contract adjustment. Jim, I know you've been working on this.
Just got this document this morning, emailed from Brian with Mayor. He said it only needs one signature. Chairman, I would assume that would be you.
Okay.
As soon as we get this signed and sent back to him, then he'll get it signed and by Clearway, and then that would make an adjustment on our bandwidth. We'll no longer be paying for phone service we're not using, we'll be paying for bandwidth. Yeah.
Then we'll be using.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So that honestly doesn't need a board action, it just kind of wraps up what we had last time.
So Jim, if I signed this sheet, that would be good enough?
Yeah, that's my understanding.
Okay, I'll just sign it.
That's it back to him.
You want to take the next one too, the ADA website here?
Let's skip to courthouse computer hardware is the other sheet. Again, we talked about this last meeting. We just didn't have it on the agenda. This for review is $1,859.15 for hardware. This is just for the hardware to improve the functionality of the networks in the courthouse. Specifically, this is to the PC Gems software that's not been functioning. And this has been an issue, my understanding, since even before Mayor came in. This software was an issue, and they feel confident after running a test using similar hardware, if they put these 35 units in, it's going to fix that. We just need to approve this estimate.
I'll make a motion that we approve it, the estimate from Air Networks for that was $1,859.15.
Second.
Computer hardware for the,
Okay, what about the land less than 4,000?
Yeah, and that's just an estimate. I mean,
Right, so,
they'll have to put it in.
okay, so do we want to approve just this tower?
Today, I think we're just approving the hardware purchase.
And give them the nod to install it?
Yeah.
Build it come at some future point.
And I think this still goes.
be my motion plus.
Okay.
Yeah.
I believe this still qualifies to go under the line. We had a $250,000 line for the phone system.
Yeah.
This is still using the same network lines attached to that. So I think we have the money in that line to use it from there.
So if we're gonna pay for it, we're gonna pay for the installation, so I was making my motion for the $1,859.15 plus labor.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Kim Atkinson.
Yeah.
Jim Marlowe.
Yeah.
Jim Morrison.
Okay.
All right, and now, the website upgrade.
Back to, this was specifically to the ADA, and bringing our website into compliance. This email was actually distributed by the chairman earlier. A month ago or so,
Yeah.
a couple of months ago. And we haven't taken any action on it. And I think we're looking at the $9,900 is probably the better value here, as they state in this. They find over 80 issues just on the homepage. And again, this is back to just a lot of comments and just adjusting wording and adding wording to the website so that it's usable by anyone.
It's very good.
What I wanted to talk about was, I've been working on another project for the website that would codify all of our ordinances. And it has grown into quite a project, it requires some money as well. So I didn't know if we just wanted to roll some of these things into a new line while we're budgeting. Possibly moving, because we're only talking about 2 months now, moving this into the next year's budget and getting a line for website. I don't know that we have one on there just for websites. The codification process COT is the company that we currently use. They have all of our documents scanned. We have access to them, but they're not necessarily accessible to the public. They need to provide us, with a different form of a copy of all of those documents. We have to go through all of those documents for this project and sort out all the ordinances that we have. This would go back to 1800, any ordinance that's still there. They then take those and send them off to a legal team that looks for any ordinances that are inconsistent, any that don't run with any of the current ones, any that might have language that needs to be cleaned up, any that need to just be eliminated. So it's more than just codifying for the website. It's an actual review of all of our ordinances to see if there's anything we want to take action on. They'll make recommendations. And that does go through, they tell me, it's a team of lawyers. Then once that's done, comes back to us, then it's turned into a web page, pages that are searchable by keyword. Right now, you can't do that with our ordinances. If you went in, did a search for dog, you wouldn't find it. So all of ours are just broken out by year. It will take a lot of time, but I've committed myself to doing the file sorting that needs to be done. Which I think they said is something like 200 hours to go through all the documents and sort what's an ordinance and what's not, basically, is all you're doing with those documents. To get the documents in the form that the companies need is about $10,000. The codification is about another 10. So we'd be talking about $20,000 project. But I have taken calls of interest in something like this. The sheriff's department is interested in this. State's attorney is very interested in having searchable ordinances. Because at times, his office struggles to find ordinances when they come up, just because of the form they're in. So with that, we'd be talking about $30,000 of adjustments to our website that could come up. I'm not suggesting all of that in one move. We might split the codification project into 2 years, 10 for 1 year, 10 for another, but then you've got the 10 for the ADA. So up for discussion of, do we want to start budgeting amount of money to maintain and improve the content on our website, not just the technical part of it?
I tell you what my thought on that is, I'm a little concerned about our website not being ADA compatible by the first year. And I think that has the potential to leave us at a risk. When it comes to codification of ordinances, in our office, in the county clerk's office, and in the circuit clerk's office, we used ARPA funds for those types of things. Might be my suggestion, I mean, it's 20 grand. Might be my suggestion that we use some ARPA funds in that. We haven't used them, but we have the funds there to do that.
How much do you have?
There's over $1 million. I believe.
Sure. I think so.
Now, there was 200 grand that came in during the year. It was an additional, I can find out exactly.
To your question, we have interest in under $1,000.
Yes,
that's-
there's interest income.
Okay.
If you wanted to know
I
that.
get that part, yeah.
Right, so, and I was, and Jim, I'm sorry, I was including the interest income,
Okay.
which has been pretty significant. It's not, it had been about, I think, 35 or 40 grand of interest income. That would be my suggestion. Let's put that off on ARPA funds. I've used local funds to do that. If you guys want to do that,
And then just go ahead and move on.
well, let's just move on. Let's just get it done. And then,
What money for the ADA? Where do you get that money?
that would, if we do it now, it have to come in with contingency because we can't be making any budget for it. And I'd like to check to make sure that our contingency funds are still what I think they are. If not, there's probably something we could do even with ADA, I mean, with ARPA for that ADA. So,
The ordinances that you're talking about, the website, does that include our policies as well?
They can do anything we want.
Because I would think that would be just as
Okay.
important.
The companies, I've talked to 2 different companies. They'll go all the way to building your website from scratch, but what they're really known for is codification documents. The more documents we send them, the more they can do with it, the more it costs. And I haven't looked into that.
Sure.
But it could be a layer that we add.
that would be, yeah, that would be,
Especially how
I
the
would
state's
agree.
attorney's office, because as we've seen, people come in here, no, so.
and we've all done, you're correct, we've all done the policy.
And I will send you other counties that have already done it to their site, and you can see what it looks like.
Yeah. I think, get this back for, it's Tuesday.
Yeah, and I will have the estimate of getting the documents that are the first step. Get you their estimates.
And then when it comes to the policies, I'm sure if they don't have.
Yeah, I'll just talk to the.
I would assume the policies would be really nice. So I would think we have this policies. Okay, so sign this. That's good.
Approve the estimate from there. On that.
We approved the estimate on that. That's good to go.
The ADA, how do you want to move on ADA?
I know we have the money in contingency, it's in that budget.
So I move to approve hiring Mayor Networks to upgrade our website to be ADA compliant for a total of $10,000.
Second.
Roll call.
Tim Atkinson.
Yeah.
Jim Marlowe.
Yeah.
Jim Racer.
Yay.
Okay, you guys got anything else? Okay, motion to recess and reconvene at 1 o'clock. It's not, time is not stipulated. You guys need a few extra minutes. 1 or is 1 o'clock? One's good?
One's good.
Motion to recess and reconvene at 1 o'clock. One meeting.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Tim Atkinson.
Yeah.
Jim Marlowe.
Yeah.
Jim Racer.
Yay.
Can you need this or do we have?
That's yours.
That's a signed copy. Statement, send that here.
Yeah, send that to Brian Dunstall.
Done and done.